What is the definition of a legend? According to a simple Google search, a legend is an extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field. Applying this to Overwatch, there are plenty of players that you could argue deserve this title. However, there is one that I believe is required to mention and discuss. That player is Alarm.
After 4 contenders titles, he's hoping OWL is a challenge. Give it up for Alarm!
In order to fully understand Alarm's excellence, you need to travel far into the past of the pro Overwatch scene. That's right, we're going back to when some consider the golden era, 2016. While Alarm is known today for his heroics on support, he actually played main tank at the time. He played on the team BK Stars along with the players Bunny, Bernard, and Quirkay. While Alarm wasn't making the world shake with his main tank gameplay, it certainly showed promise of what could be a great Overwatch player, especially considering the fact that he was only 15 years old at the time. BK Stars never really achieved a title with their roster, with Envious winning Season 1 and Lunatic High winning Season 2 of Apex respectively. Even in Season 3, when Alarm had swapped to support, BK Stars just couldn't enter that upper echelon of teams. This led Alarm to look toward other teams, where he hoped that he could make a name for himself on the support role. After joining a team for a brief time called Poor Children, Alarm would join Lunatic High's newly formed and creatively named Lunatic High 2. This team, while certainly more solid than BK Stars, still failed to break that championship barrier. Alarm would then move on to the team Fusion University, where he never looked back. I cannot understate how incredibly dominant this team was in contenders. Along with a few obscure tournament wins, this roster would win so much that I'm just going to throw it up on the screen. While part of the success came from a very stacked roster, Alarm was truly a difference maker on this squad. He was so dominant playing for Fusion University that people were desperately waiting to watch this guy dominate in the league. The question was, what team would Alarm end up joining? On October 30th, 2019, we would get our answer. Alarm would join the Philadelphia Fusion, joining with players such as Poco, Quirkay, and EQO. This immediately raised people's opinion of the team coming into Season 3 of the Overwatch League, with Alarm becoming one of the most hyped up players coming into the new year. The question then became, would the Fusion perform to the expectation? It's safe to say that they far surpassed the expectations cast onto them, including the expectations of the Philadelphia Fusion fanbase. Quirkay was in top form, Sato was proving all of the haters wrong, and behind it all was Alarm, showing incredible mechanics and deep flexibility. There were a few games that went awry, but the Fusion would end up placing second in the regular season. However, this is not what the typical fan thinks of when they think of the Fusion. The thing that comes to mind is almost always the tournament results. And luckily for the fans, the Fusion were extremely consistent with tournament results. That is, if you count consistency as constant second place finishes. For whatever reason, the Philadelphia Fusion across the entirety of the history of the franchise have never taken home a trophy. The Fusion, at the time of making this video, have a total of 6 second place finishes, with one of those being in the grand finals of the inaugural season. It just seems that this franchise is doomed to always end up second, which was notably tragic in this year, considering the talent the team possessed. Starting with the May Melee, which is the first tournament of the year, the Fusion placed 4th, falling to the Florida Mayhem in a devastating close match. In the Summer Showdown, the Fusion would place 2nd after losing to the Paris Eternal 3-4. Paris seemed to be the antagonist of Philly in this year, with an intense rivalry and some games that tested the Fusion's limits. Regardless, this loss still stunned many fans. Next up was the Countdown Cup. You probably guessed the result by now. The team finished 2nd in a 2-4 series against the Shock. Even if you weren't a Philly fan, everybody hated watching them lose time and time again. After this tournament, the only hope was the finals, but fans were starting to lose hope at this point. Philly ended up performing well in the playoffs, guaranteeing a spot in the top 4, but the real question was, how would they perform against the other top teams? Poorly would be the correct answer. After practicing for weeks in Korea, the Fusion would finish 4th in the playoffs, losing to the Shanghai Dragons 3-0 and then the Seoul Dynasty 3-0. Luckily for Alarm, his efforts would be acknowledged. Alarm was one of 10 players to be brought into the MVP award race, and at the end of it all, he would win the Rookie of the Year award. This was an incredibly emotional moment for Alarm, and within his acceptance video, you can see how much the award truly meant to him. After this fairly successful year on the Fusion, Alarm decided that he would stick with the team going into the next year. Even though some of his teammates would end up leaving the team, there were new faces to go along with Season 4, including Rascal, Mono, Hotba, Shockwave, and Toby. There were many concerns with this team going into the year, however. For one, the team made the decision that they would be playing in the APAC region instead of the North American region. This meant that the competition was going to be tougher than it was for the team in the previous year. Along with this, some of the players could not arrive to the region due to visa issues, which led to the emergency signings of Toby and Hotba. Both of these major factors led to doubt being thrown onto the Fusion, with the goal of the Fusion to be to prove the doubters wrong. And that's exactly what they did.
Is now gone. There's no supports available. Gesture comes back in with a wrecking ball, trying to buy some time, but it just does not stand a chance. This will be the finish. They tick it up, and the Fusion will be able to take this series with pressure. He does not get to use the primal rage. Alarm falls up for a second kill. Now Hype going to be gone. Is used on the show tank, trying to keep the one lone tank alive. Rascal, however, finds Crystal again, gets the pulse bomb down. Alarm finishes them off. 3 kills for him in the fight. Milan run dead. The cart, it makes its way through.
Right here, no one's left in sight. Oh, but this Tracer manages to contest for briefly, making their way over. Both DPS are trying their best, but is it going to be enough right here with Architect falling? It isn't. And the Philadelphia Fusion take the series over the Hangzhou Spark.
This could be it.
This could definitely be it right here, considering the fact that Alarm still has that pick. They clear out Elsa, and they're cleaning up the Hunters.
Oh, Philadelphia Fusion, they're going to do it. They force the Chengdu Hunters off of the payload.
That is, for a decent bit of time. The Fusion would unfortunately start to go downhill after their first loss. They even ended up losing a map to the Valiant, which was an unadulterated disaster of a team that I might cover in the future. Regardless of the true cause, this roster that started off extremely hot was slowing down drastically. While the team was able to snag a few more notable wins and appear in the playoffs, this team would ultimately fall short of any trophies once again. Part of this was due to the fact that the team had visa issues throughout the season, but even with the Western pieces, the team still didn't quite click. Although this was the case, Alarm was still an absurd standout, maintaining his status as a top-tier flex support. There was no doubt the Philadelphia Fusion would keep Alarm if he wanted to play for them. The question was who would fill in the gaps for the team. On October 26, 2021, the Philadelphia Fusion announced that Alarm would be signed to the team for a 3rd year. Just a day before, the Fusion announced that Quirkay would be playing his 5th year with the team, with him also set to play alongside Alarm. The Fusion would also announce the signings of MN3 and Zest, 2 very flashy DPS players. But unfortunately, the unpredictable happened, changing the course of the Philadelphia Fusion and Overwatch as a whole forever. On November 7th, 2021, the Philadelphia Fusion announced that Alarm had unexpectedly passed away. This news was absolutely devastating to Overwatch fans, but even people outside of the community were showing their condolences. Not only was Alarm a one-of-a-kind Overwatch player, he also demonstrated his ability to care for others and be a great teammate. There are so many stories that tell of Alarm's good character, and his presence will be missed in this world and the community. There are very few bright sides to this story. Alarm was robbed of his life story at the young age of 20. His family has to live without their child for the rest of their lifetimes. We lose one of the most entertaining and skilled flex support players to ever touch the game. Not to mention, the Philadelphia Fusion lose one of the most important members of their organization to date. Fortunately for Alarm, his memory in the league will never be forgotten. The Overwatch League decided to reach out to Alarm's family to see if they would allow the Rookie of the Year award to be renamed the Alarm Rookie of the Year award in Alarm's memory. Approval was given, and as a result, the award has been renamed to the Alarm Rookie of the Year. There are countless players that Alarm has inspired that are truly some of the best in the game nowadays. All you have to do is go to Twitter to see the countless number of people who were affected by this news. I especially feel for his teammates, who knew him on a personal level and talked about how incredibly selfless he was as a teammate. I hope that not only the Overwatch community, but the gaming community in general remembers Alarm and his impact on the landscape of this world for many, many years to come. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I did a good job honoring his legacy.
No, no.